Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we're graced by the presence of royalty. The Mrs. Montana calls Great Falls her home. We're talking with her about how she got into the pageant world, how she learned to walk in those high heels, and more importantly, her platform and causes, and why she loves Great Falls.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You wanna get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you wanna go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth,
and we're No Damn Experts. What's happening today, Shannon?
Okay, I'm excited. We have Mrs. Montana in studio with us. I feel like we need all the pomp and circumstance that she's due.
Yeah, you can find a way to add in some of those, like applause and...
Yeah, I know. I want the sound effects. We need them. Anyway, without further ado, because that's as best as we can do for an intro right now, Catherine Mertz, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, we're so glad to have you. Okay, I'm sure have lots of questions.
I have so many questions, but let me just start by saying I'm so excited you're on the podcast because I've seen you just throughout the community.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, there's Mrs. Montana. And I'm like, finally, you get to be in our studio.
Yes.
I'm
talking.
very excited about it.
Yeah. And
awesome.
Just in the last few months, I've seen you at a number of things. I mean, I flight over the falls at the Fur Ball event, just all kinds of things.
4th of July hootenanny.
Yes.
Yep.
Very active in our community.
Going
Absolutely.
way back. The funniest part, I'm going to tell my funny story.
Okay. Right off the bat.
We, not you and me, Maudie and I got to host the Halloween symphony concert.
Yes.
And we made a joke on stage that someone was dressed like Mrs. Montana. And I told Maudie, no, that's actually Mrs. Montana.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, you looked pretty spot on for yourself, I guess. Yeah.
It looked like me. That was good.
Yeah.
Good job. Part of the gig. Yeah.
So that was like our fun little thing to add into the Halloween.
Nice job.
That's it.
You
That's
laughed
all
at yourself. That's good.
Yeah. We laughed at ourselves a lot during that episode. We just hoped other people, that concert, we hoped others just laughed with us.
It was a great concert.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
So because of that concert, I'd never gone to a symphony performance before.
Really?
Shame on me.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know that
really
was your
awful.
first one. Yeah.
So then I got hooked and went out to St. Peter's Mission on Saturday to listen to Megan perform the original piece created for St. Peter's Mission on the violin.
Wow.
And it was the most amazing experience I'd had in a long time.
She's super excited. And you got a USB drive that actually looks like a cassette.
Yep, I did.
That has all
with
the
all the original
performances.
music on it. And then there's video that plays. I haven't done it yet. I told Shannon I was going to bring it in today, and then I forgot again.
Yeah, it's okay.
Music is amazing.
Yeah.
And being able to experience it live like that it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
So, concert, symphony, good stuff. We do. By the way, we have a podcast episode that came out recently about the symphony. So if you have questions about it,
There you go.
all about it. Yes.
So, Catherine, or should we just refer to you as Mrs. Montana?
However you feel most comfortable. I'm good.
Mrs. Montana.
She prefers the formal.
How long have you been in Great Falls, Montana?
I was actually born and raised here. I lived in Havre for a little bit, and then I lived in Cut
Me
Bank.
too.
And then I came back. So I also went to school in Pennsylvania. I lived out in Oregon. I've lived all over the country, but something just magnetized me back to here. And a lot of that was family. So,
And you're multi-generational Montanan,
yes.
correct?
So my great-grandparents homesteaded in Utica.
Okay.
And they were right next to Sapphire Village.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've been here we've been here for a very long time. So
My husband was a graduate of Hobson, and his family ranched near Utica. So we spent
They probably know
all
each
of
other.
our
Probably.
all of our life as a couple has been spent in that area camping and recreating.
Yeah. So my grandma graduated from Hobson.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, your families are connected
Well,
somewhere back in there. Yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah.
before the podcast started, I mentioned in Montana you just don't say
Yeah.
names anymore when you tell stories because all of
Everyone
a
knows
sudden
everyone.
it pops up and it might be embarrassing, and then all of a sudden that's that person's cousin, and you're like,
Whoops.
no.
Are we
This one's
cousins?
this one's okay though. Maybe. Yeah.
I'm originally from Minnesota, so I married
Okay, so-
into the Montana-ness,
Got it.
Montana-ness.
By marriage, you're
Yeah.
associated though. Yeah.
And then you're from Havre.
Well, I went to, not originally, so I'm also not at all related to anybody there, but I went to high school in Havre.
I went to high
moved.
school there too.
Hey, okay,
Yeah.
Blue Ponies.
Yes.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Havre's mascot is the Blue Pony.
And-
yes, it's
and
real,
Havre, yeah.
and Havre has it.
Yeah.
It's the pride of the High Line.
Yes.
It's whatever the new motto is.
It's
up
the
there.
people.
It's the people. Yes,
There we go.
all of the Havre things. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was going to say. I got derailed by Blue Ponies.
That'll
Yeah.
happen. So I'm going to dig right into
Okay.
how does one become Mrs. Montana?
It's an interesting story. So really, you can just go on and apply, and you can go through and do all of the motions and learn how to do interview and walk in heels and give back to the community and all
Yeah.
of these wonderful things. I wasn't a pageant girl. I didn't do makeup and eyelashes and all of this. My journey started as I'm a photographer. And you know this because I worked with the McLean Center
Yeah.
for a while, which I loved. But my journey started because I was going to take pictures for a modeling agency in the Dominican Republic, and I decided to start working out. Because I wasn't going
go
to be
to the DR, go on the beach,
Yeah,
all of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you want to look your best,
Yeah.
right? So I did that, and I started getting messages and stuff on Instagram, and I'm like, dude, like, is this real or is it just like bots, whatever?
Yeah.
So I contact the modeling agency. I'm like, I don't know if I should do anything about this or what. And she's like, well, just come down, and when you do photos, you can try out modeling too and see what you think about
Nice.
it. And I'm like, okay, cool, perfect, fun, whatever. And then we started talking, and she's like, I think pageants might actually be like the way for you to go. And I'm like, well, okay,
Wait a second.
hold up.
This went from
How
working
did
out
we
to
go
go to
from
the beach.
taking pictures of myself to being in pageants?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so those conversations just kind of kept building. And while I stopped and I was like, no, I don't think I really want to do that, what I started thinking about was, why do we keep putting things down and not doing them when there are opportunities to grow and to move forward, right? So my husband and I sat down and we're like, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. So I go in and I do it, and then I win Mrs. Montana America, and that was last year. I go through all the motions, we go to the America pageants, and then this year, I'm Mrs. Montana American. So there are two different pageant systems.
Is it kind of like the Miss USA versus Miss America?
Kind
Similar
of, but
concept.
not. So,
Okay.
so there's a bunch of different pageant systems. It's kind of like, what can I just, I don't know how to describe
It's
it
just its own pageant system.
so the Mrs. America pageant is one. There's like Mrs. United States of America. That's another pageant system.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like that. But in the Mrs. America Inc., what it is there's Mrs. America, which has been around since like the 1930s. It's a long competition. It's what everybody knows as Mrs. America.
Okay.
Right. And then there's, what they did was, the guy that owned that was very big on second chances and all of that. So he created another vein of the pageant system called American. So the America is the winner of every state. They go to that title. American is the first runner up of every state, because he believed that those people that were first runner up still had
were
the possibility
right there. Yeah.
to be in front of the public and serving and doing these things that are good. And then there's a Miss division too for the younger girls that aren't married. But
then what is the difference then between Miss and Mrs. in the pageants?
it's just whether you're married or not.
Okay.
Like you can
So
be
it's
in
not
the Miss.
necessarily age, it's the
No.
marriage
You
thing.
can be a Miss and you could be 45 and
Okay.
you're still not married. So
Okay, I didn't realize I thought that was one of the qualifications.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that
and you
that
can
was the
even-
only thing.
You can even have kids.
Okay.
So, these are things that, like I said, anybody could apply for. It just so happened that my journey was a little bit different. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's a state level competition for this.
Yes.
How have we not known about this?
I don't
Now,
think.
like,
Okay.
let me back up and say, like, I was part of the Junior Miss program.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So you
Good
get the
you
pageant
go.
veins.
Were you
and
Miss
all that.
Malta?
No, it was like no, it wasn't. Like, you didn't get to be your town's miss, but
Yeah.
like it
But just
was
a-
on. You had to do a performance and a talent and answer questions, and then there was a physical component, and
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it as much as other people probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was the only girl in my school, I got picked.
Led the way.
There you go. You know.
To compete
Yeah.
in our county. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I know there's a statewide one for that only because
Right.
I was a part of that, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I know we've had other Miss Montanans and Mrs. Montana, but I didn't know. Tell us about that. The
Okay.
whole statewide thing.
So there's a director, and she lives in Missoula. So generally, it's around that area.
Okay.
She'll find a venue, and then all of the contestants come together, and then you compete to get the title. And every one of those contestants does have a basic title. I think mine was Mrs. Northwestern Montana or something like that, because
Okay.
I lived in Central. I don't even remember what my title was, but anyway, it was like North Central Montana.
Yeah.
And it was because I grew up in North Central Montana,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know why exactly you haven't known about it, but I would almost say that it's mostly because in Montana, I'm not quite sure that we put a ton of value on the outside beauty. We put value on a person's soul and their work ethic and things like that, rather than what's on the outside. So seeing past that on a beauty pageant might be hard, but realistically, those women are the most amazing people that you will ever meet.
Well, they're Montanans.
And so, well, yeah, but even when they're not Montanans, these women, I mean, they're doctors, lawyers, they have huge organizations that they've put towards, or they've created their own nonprofits to make the world better. And so their souls are like on fire. So while Montana might not know quite about them yet, they should definitely.
Well, yeah, I think it would be awesome to attend like
Yeah.
the show. Whatever that is.
Yeah,
It's not
pageant show.
televised as my assumption, but
Right.
if it were, you'd be watching it on TV.
Yeah.
If not, you should get a ticket and go see it when it's done.
Absolutely. I
So
think it would be awesome.
What's part of that, the pageant, or the thing that you would be able to watch on TV? What's part of the pageant process there?
So the pageant process, you have to, of course, have your makeup and hair done,
Yeah.
and you have certain attire that you have to wear. And then basically you go in that day and you prepare yourself for interview, and you sit with a group of people that interview you and judge you on your answers, of course. And then you have swimsuit and ball gown that you do on stage. And then there may be like a tiebreaker question on stage if there's two people that are close. But other than that, that's really it.
Is there a talent portion for
Costume.
this one?
I forgot about costume.
Costume. Okay.
So when you're married, and even when you're not at state, I don't remember if it's state, like all of the veins have a costume. But when
Okay.
people ask me, do you have a talent? I always say, no, I proved my talent. I'm married.
That's my talent.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's my talent.
accurate. Yeah.
So we do costumes,
Okay.
and they're based on the state.
Oh.
So like when I went to nationals, the first time I was a Yogo Sapphire. When I went the second time, I was a Meadowlark.
Okay.
So you pick something that should be unique about your state. Like Ohio was a phone booth because of Superman or something.
Oh my
and how
gosh.
he came out of the phone booth, and it was a really cool, inventive thing.
So
but
these can be like, I mean, that seems more like Halloween costume. I don't know how you make a phone booth.
Well, that
it
is
really is.
costume.
It really
sexy.
is.
Yeah. Okay.
It really is. But when you come out of the phone booth, that's
Sexy
the
sexy
pretty
part. Okay.
sexy part. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
fun.
So
Yeah,
is
it
there like we had to practice in Junior Miss for like a week
Okay. Yeah.
or a month?
Yeah.
Maybe it was like every Wednesday for a year. I don't even remember.
Okay.
Junior Miss is the same as the Miss Montana pageant. You're
Yeah.
correct.
My
Yes.
frame of reference.
No, it's perfect. I love it.
It's clearly gotten me far in my life.
It's bringing all the right questions, so it's good.
So did you have to practice, like before you did the day of stuff performance? Was there practice?
So the state wasn't that big of a deal because it was state and it was during COVID. So I can't tell you on a regular what it is like.
Yeah,
at
you
state.
were in a weird time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but at nationals, we're actually there for 8 to 10 days. This is a long time, and you're practicing and working, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It looks like a lot,
It
just
does.
like when you see the clips on some of those televised things.
yeah.
So I'm going to ask questions, and if they become things that you're not going to answer, just say, "Hey, Ingham, not going to answer
Not
that
today.
one."
Pass.
That's fine.
Okay.
Is there some set of money that allows you to stay in some of these places for 10 days and compete?
So
That would be
basically,
Because you're the
difficult.
winner. Like, they should bring you down there as an expense paid experience.
they do.
Thank
so-
God.
Yeah. So what happens is they pay for your travel down to nationals, and then they pay for your room and board at nationals.
Okay.
So
That's
that's
good.
it. They feed you, they house you, and they bring you down
That is nice.
if you win. So
Yeah.
that's good. Yes.
Yeah.
That's benefit
That's
for being
helpful.
the winner.
Right.
Oh, also you get to go to that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You know.
Your crown, do you get to keep it
Yes, I do.
forever?
Really?
Yes, forever.
Ooh.
Is it custom made for that year, or is it like the same crown every year?
From what I can tell, it's the same crown every year. Like I have 2 of basically the same crowns. One, the front leans a little bit more forward than the other, but I mean, it's the same shape. And they're heavy. Like not just a
Really?
little bit, like it's like,
Oh my gosh.
I didn't
They
realize.
look massive on TV.
Yeah, they are.
they-
And the higher you rank, the bigger they get.
Oh.
So yeah.
You have to have more talent and neck
You have to-
stability.
neck control, yeah.
Do you use bobby pins to help keep it in?
You can, but you don't really need to because most of the
So
time your
heavy.
hair you have extensions
Oh,
in,
it's just
and then you have all this
hairspray is pretty-
ratting and hairspray, and the
It just
prongs
goes right.
go right.
Oh,
in.
perfect. Okay, but there are prongs on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So do they teach? Is that part of your training? Like after you win, to be like, okay, now you go out in the world and you must
Not at all.
walk with the
Do
crown.
you want a funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first won Mrs. Montana America the first year, so I am big into art. It's part of my platform. I love it. And I wanted to go see the Luminary Walk where all the kids have their,
Yeah.
their art on the bags. So I go in full garb with my
Yeah.
crown and my sash, and I'm walking along the trail at night while I'm also wearing heels. I didn't wear flats because why would I do that?
Why would you do it? Doesn't go with the dress.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I got my dress from Dragonfly, which was
Oh,
amazing. It
yeah.
was so pretty. But anyway, so I'm walking down the path, and my heel catches on part of
gosh.
the River's Edge Trail,
yeah.
and my crown goes flying.
Oh no.
And I was just at a part where if it would have gone much farther, it would have been in the
in
river.
the river.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but when it fell, it like bent the top of it and stones fell out. And oh my gosh, it was a
Oh.
mess. But luckily, so the company that makes them, it's called Dyna Inc. You can send back if you have issues with your crown or whatever, and then they'll repair it
They
for you.
didn't. They didn't take away your
They
title
didn't
for that.
take it away for that. But
So do you
yeah.
send it back and go, I don't know what happened. These,
dog
these
got
things
it.
just
I-
fell out.
I have yet to send it back, so we'll see what happens. I just
Was this the Luminary Walk that was recently?
No, it was
Oh,
last
okay.
year,
Oh,
but it was
gotcha.
it wasn't as noticeable once I bent it back, and I was
Gotcha.
like, okay, I got to go to other appearances.
Yeah,
I can't
I
be
can't.
without it.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of left it like we do because
Yeah.
there's so many things
Right.
that are kind of back burner.
Sure.
Other things
Yeah.
going on.
Is there a big difference between your America and American crowns?
No, they're
Okay.
exactly the same.
Okay.
And the titles themselves are, like I said, they're pretty well the same, except for America is just
Yeah.
their first.
The one that's
Yeah.
been installed for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you were just down in Las Vegas doing some stuff. Was that another competition?
No, so no. No, I've been gone for like 6 weeks. It's
Yeah.
been crazy. So I'm trying to remember when the pageant was. It was mid-August when the actual pageant was. So yes, then I was down for the American pageant. during that, my husband had me take my car to the dealership because the fuel pump was acting funny. He's like, just take it, because I have a BMW, and we don't have service stations in Montana.
You got to pick specific spots.
Yeah, exactly. So we take it there, and they kind of confiscated my car because it wasn't safe to drive.
Oh, no.
And so
you really shouldn't have come here with this.
I had like 4 suitcases. I had like clothing racks. I had all of this. There's no way I could have afforded to fly home.
How am I going to
do this all? And then my daughter had come down to see this pageant because she didn't get to see the last one, and it was her 16th birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So how cool was that?
Yeah.
But then you get the teenagers' luggage, and I'm like,
oh
my gosh, I'm buying like 5 airplane tickets here, right? So we ended up getting a rental car. Well, we thought we got the car fixed, so I went back down. Well, I spent 5 days, the car wasn't fixed, so then I had to drive back up because I had an appearance with the Warrior Reunion Foundation.
Okay.
They come out here quite a bit yearly, if not more than yearly. And I had to be in Monarch. And then I had to be in Denver for the American Diabetes Association.
Yeah.
So I just drove back up. And then I didn't even sleep the night I was here. I just did laundry and then shot myself back down.
Oh my gosh.
You don't know how grateful I am to be home.
I can imagine after all. Is your car back home with you now
Yes.
too? Okay.
Thank goodness. I just went down there 2 days ago. Didn't sleep on the way there. Went down, picked it up, and just headed right back.
So not to tell you about your platform, but isn't like health and wellness and good sleep one of the things that should be?
Sleep is kind of an important part of all of that. Yeah.
Yes. It should be everything. But then I'm that person that I just gotta
go.
I gotta go, gotta get it done, and that's okay. It's so it is what it is. Maybe one day I'll learn how to sleep.
Hopefully you can sleep now, tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe.
Yeah.
I love to sleep, and
I'm a big fan.
I am a huge fan of sleep, and there was I went caffeine free a couple years ago.
I've done that. That's scary.
I love it.
Okay.
Except I was getting coffee someplace, and I said, "What do you have for decaf?" I've now refined my decaf order so I don't have this issue again.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we have this chai whatever," and I'm like, "Perfect."
Yeah.
Was not decaf.
Chai is like the most caffeinated thing you can get.
Yes, now I know this. Okay. But guess who was just up for 2 days because they had some caffeine, and I'm like, oh, so this really screws with your body.
Honestly, I wish I could drink 2 shots of espresso right now and
I used to be
asleep
that way
in an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I used to be that way until I went caffeine free, and now
now it really affects you.
I went caffeine free one time, and I think I slept. I woke up for work, and I woke up for caring for the kids, right?
Yeah.
But then as soon as those duties were done, out for like a week. I slept like that, and then I was fine, and I felt amazing.
Your body just needed to detox from it.
That adjustment is a long process. I can remember sitting at work going, holy moly, the company is not getting their worth out of me.
Exactly.
Barely functioning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Our other colleague has tried and gone back and forth with caffeine too, and migraines and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah.
So your daughter, now 16, is she now interested in the pageant world?
I've asked her, and every once in a while she'll be like, oh, maybe that would be cool, because what I would love to have happened is this last year, I would have loved for her to have run as Miss, and then we could have done it together, because how historic would that have been?
Right.
Like, amazing. Unfortunately, she's a year too young, so she couldn't.
Oh. So you just have to run again.
Yeah.
No big deal.
No big deal.
No sleep
stress.
for another year. It's
Yeah,
fine.
It's fine. It's fine. There's caffeine. I'll be good. No, but she's my sporty girl. So she swims for Great Falls High. She's a varsity swimmer. She's a junior this year. She's got pretty well straight A's. Like, I'm so incredibly proud of her.
That's awesome.
Great kid. If she ran in a pageant, she would win. But unfortunately, can't get her in a dress. No, I'm kidding.
I wonder if the Junior Miss program is still around.
Probably it might be.
Was not much of a dress girl myself growing up, and our basketball coach, my sophomore year, shows up, new coach, and he's like, "You are all ladies, so when we go to tournaments, you will wear dresses." And we're like,
"That's my daughter. That's my daughter." When she's
I feel
like, "I have
that
to dress
wouldn't
up."
fly today.
Well,
but it does.
Oh, do they say that
to
now
me?
Still?
Knowing most people know who I am now. I drink beer a lot, and I love to hang out in the mountains.
Yeah.
It was really great. It was a really great experience to be forced into that, to know what it's like to show up and look that way. And now when I go to tournaments and stuff, I really look for that. I'm like, oh, they are taking pride in their appearance. They're taking pride in their school. They're taking pride in their community when they do that. And and I think it just has that element to it, which is really nice. But that first year,
really had to be forced into that.
It's super awkward because you're a teenager and you're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm almost 40 and I'm still trying to figure out who I am. So I'm not going to blame a 16-year-old for being like, ugh.
Yes. No kidding. Yeah.
Well, and we, showing up in sneakers and boots, which is popular now, but this is a long time ago, and it wasn't as popular then, but really unique experience from that standpoint. So when I did the Junior Miss thing and I had to wear this beautiful dress that I borrowed from somebody, beautiful gown. I was in nylons and it's just itching all the time. I'm like, ugh.
Just
and there was
a note, you don't have to wear nylons. In fact,
I was
they
just
tell
going to
you
ask
no
you.
nylons.
Oh, okay.
Really?
That's shifted then, I would imagine. Yeah.
There
Thank
was
goodness.
an amazing lady that I grew up with in our community, and she leaned over one time at like a school program and she whispered in my ear and she said, if you're going to be a woman of any stature, you better learn to get comfortable in nylons because that is what professional women wear. And I just looked at her and she had that force around her that you just respected what she was saying. And I'm like, okay, yes ma'am, I'll get comfortable in nylons.
I will breathe through this.
Will not scratch myself.
Right.
There's part of me that like, I just go so both ways on that because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a professional, respected woman. And I'm also like, I don't need the nylons. No, I'm like totally rebel against that
Right. Who's
concept.
looking at my legs and that makes me successful?
Yeah.
Right.
No,
There's
not really.
that too.
Yes.
It's also pretty uncomfortable. So
Yes,
no
and
thanks.
totally
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier learning to walk in heels.
Yes.
I want to ask you about. So do they do? First off, I saw you at Flight Over the Falls on the tarmac on the flight line in 105-degree weather, walking in your heels.
Yes.
I don't know how you did it.
Everybody stopped me. Are you okay?
Is there something
Is
wrong
somebody
with
forcing you to do this?
Yes.
So that was just my picture. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 100 and whatever degrees out here. You're walking in heels. This is a lot of walking.
Did they smiling? I bet too.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
Looking happy about it. So did they teach you? Is that like you mentioned that as a part of the process?
It is. It is definitely part of the process because you don't want to land on your face.
Yeah.
And you also don't want to be crying because you're starting to bleed because you haven't worn your heels, right?
So got to wear
They
them
also
in.
teach you how to fall gracefully.
I will tell you that most women that do this, that they actually have, like, I don't want to say I didn't have an investment, but I wasn't quite sure when I started.
Yeah.
Right? So I was kind of teaching myself, and I had a few close friends that were giving me hints. But a lot of women, what they do is they spend the money on a coach who will teach them how to walk, how to speak, how to have the poise that these pageants require. And it's very smart to do so because you can't figure that out until you've at least done a couple of them.
Or sometimes it's hard to like evaluate yourself sometimes too.
Right. And you're not getting scores when you do these things. So they don't say, hey, well, you could have done this better. So so they didn't specifically teach me. What I did was I wore my shoes awkwardly throughout town and had a whole bunch of people ask me if I was okay. Why are you wearing your shoes? You can take them off. Why didn't you bring flip-flops? These are common things that I hear all the time. And it was kind of awkward because nobody wears the heels that you wear for pageants in Great Falls.
It's true story. Yeah.
I mean, it's this true statement.
Just
There's
what
no
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding heels sometimes is not as easy.
Yeah. There's only one shop in town that I found that has similar heels to what we need to wear. I have to order them every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, yeah, just not something that's really sold here, or there's very few events in town that would
even let you wear them.
You're right.
And have it be socially acceptable.
Have it be right.
Right. Because we're not that, we just don't have that vein of whatever it is.
It's more,
like not
more
about
comfort, Western focused, which is great.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The majority
and
of
really
the time.
believe me, I wish I could have on my Western comfort wear, but that's just not how it floats.
So is there a requirement of? It sounds like there's requirements for height.
Yep.
Is there a platform like on the front? Can you do that to help offset some of the high? What are the requirements?
So the ones I was wearing at Flight of the Falls, I don't think that they were my real ones. Maybe they were.
Okay.
I can't remember. My dog likes to eat them, and it's a very expensive
toy
thing. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you could stop at any time because I can't just go and grab some if I need them, right?
Yeah.
But the shoes in general, I guess there's not really a specific requirement on stage other than they need to be nude and they need to be clear. But there are ones that are kind of unspoken, the best shoes to wear for pageants because they make your legs look better, or they have your, they keep your posture different or whatever. And people wear these for muscle competitions, for beauty competitions.
I just want them in general. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, anything that's on stage. So,
and you do need the height.
I do need the height. Yes. Yes, I do need the height.
But there's a beauty in short, it's all good.
Right.
But these heels, they're either the Chinese tippy top, which is like, it has a 2-inch platform on the front and I want to say it's either a 5 or a 6-inch on the back. I'm already 5'9", so then add all that height. That's kind of crazy. And then when you have to do squats down to say hi to little girls.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot.
Which is a delicate
workout.
process. Again, when in the dress and the crown.
Yes. So it's just lots of control. You do have to be kind of fit to,
Well, you gotta squats,
handle
flexibility. Yeah. Posture.
I can barely bend over to pick up garbage at the office.
Yeah. And then there's the other brand that you could go with that's similar is Marc Defang, and they have, the only reason I like those shoes is because they have a quick release. So when you're having to change, you can just like flip this little thing.
Is it like a ski boot? Like
I think it kind of is. So I only saw them one time. I haven't bought them yet because I keep rebuying the Chinese ones. Whatever. But I saw these in the store and it's just a little flip. But when you are changing costumes and stuff and you only have 2 minutes,
you can't sit there and try to mess with that.
Yeah, instead of doing a belt on your ankle, it would be way better to just do the quick release.
Yeah.
So but those are the types of shoes. Yeah. So some women wear the clear ones, some women wear the nude color, but something that looks decent on stage. So I always just practice.
Is that a requirement then? Can you venture off and do red heels if you're at an event throughout the year?
Oh yeah,
okay.
You definitely
it's just on stage. You can only stay in that nude clear realm.
Yeah, you should. And your coach would guide you towards that. There are people that don't, but
they
like
don't win.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe someone along the line has. But if you want to be more comfortable during an appearance, you definitely can wear the lower shoe or whatever you look nice in, professional. So.
Is there a list? Because as we started the podcast, we said we've seen you in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Is there like a list that you have to submit every month, how many appearances you've made or things that you have to do once you become crowned?
No, I think that most of us are just like, we definitely want to be doing as much as we can in our community because that's part of being a beauty contestant, right? I believe that the minimum we're supposed to do is like 24 a year, but that's not hard. I mean, you're always going to parades and events and functions that support your cause, and then you're always trying to raise money for something. And to me, it's not an issue. I just am always going because I want to be out there. I want to meet the kids. I want to see the little old ladies and make them happy and kind of make people aware that this thing is out there that's actually a really good thing coming from a girl that loves her Carhartt and her ripped jeans more than anything. You know what I mean? So that's, to me, the appearances are easy and no, there's no checklist.
Okay.
And then, but do you always have to be wearing sash and or crown when you are making an official appearance somewhere?
I mean, you should because it's your advertising, right? Nobody would know any different. They'd look at me and be like, oh, it's Catherine, and then walk away.
Right.
Like, oh, we're not talking to her.
What is she doing again?
Why is she in heels?
But there's kind of, like, you kind of start to feel it out. Like I would wear my sash if I was just going to like maybe a thing at the library or when I went down to Tour de Cure in Denver. Okay, I'm just wearing my sash because obviously I'm not riding a bike or doing anything athletic with a crown on my head, right?
Well, you're not doing it well.
Right, exactly. I mean, I could, and I might be the best one
maybe.
at it. Yeah. And so in those events, my heels might not be on either.
Yeah.
So it's all what you're doing specific. If I'm going to go to the fur ball per se, then I should have my crown on.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a room where everybody's dressed nicely.
Right. So it elevates, kind of makes the distinction.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
And you had at the 4th of July, was it this year, the parade this year, you had like this beautiful red Mrs. Montana car that you waved from. I saw that picture.
My car.
That's your the one that just had the Vegas adventure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I did. And I had a wonderful time at that parade. We took on the side of the car, we used contact paper to write out Mrs. Montana. Because I was like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
No sign is going to look right. So I Googled what will not harm my paint, and we just arted it up and made it a thing with my kids, and it was amazing. So we had a fun time. Yeah. And I was also at the Christmas. The parades are my favorite. Yeah, as a Christmas one too, and that was fun. Yeah.
That was fun.
So, other than your official duties as Mrs. Montana, which seem to be a lot of amazing things that you could be a part of,
right?
Are there times, and I'm going to say it this way because everyone who's been a part of programs or even a small business owner know you don't really get to have two personalities.
Right.
But is there ever a time you aren't Mrs. Montana?
You get to turn it off, kind of.
That's a good question.
Ingham, shut up.
No, I like that question though, because it's making me think. Like I try to be who I am all the time. So me as Mrs. Montana is
that's authentic you.
Authentic me minus the dressing up.
Yeah.
So I guess the best way for me to answer that would be my favorite events when I really get to be all me and still wear the sash are the ones where I can dress like I did when I went to Tour de Cure with 47 hoodies because it's raining outside and my sash on top of them, and yet still have the American Diabetes Association all over, my gear, and be wearing my sneakers. Those are my favorite and where I feel most comfortable, but that doesn't mean I'm not the same person when I'm dressed up for like the fur ball. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Good answer.
Yes.
I would score you a 10 on that.
Like she's done. She's practiced these things. Speaking of, so the interview, what kind of questions do they ask? What are they looking for? I mean, there's the typical like pageant, or you think of like Miss Congeniality, like, world peace, like that's the answer. But like, what in reality, what are the things that you prepare for interview questions? What are they looking for? Do you remember any of the questions you've been asked?
So it's a good question. As soon as you said that, all the questions ran out of my brain. Of course. But the gist of it is when you go, like, we'll talk about nationals because it's easiest to talk about. Like you do this for state too, but you fill out a application and it asks you questions, and you need to tell about like, maybe some anecdotes with your husband, or you need to fill out a question that says, what do you do in your community? What are some events that you've done? And all of this, so that they can see really what you have put on your plate and your workload, what you can handle and things like that. When you go through like this year for interviews, it's like a round robin. So you have like 5 or 6 people and you have 3 to 4 minutes each with each person. And they ask you, each person is different with their question probe. So like one lady might be dealing with questions that deal with mental stress, like how do you handle, long-term out on the road, doing things for communities? How do you, balance yourself at the end of the day so that you're okay? It doesn't sound like a lot at first, but then you start doing it and it really is.
You haven't slept in 4 months.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like, I'm going to have to, I have to do something about that. But
don't tell them that part. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then other questions might be like you go to the next person and they ask you about, okay, well, how do you handle social media? What do you know about social media? How can you promote it? Because part of that is promoting their company and promoting the good that they're putting out in the world, right? So how can you help them do that? It's really a job interview, is all that it is. And they just want to make sure that in all aspects of what they're looking for, that you can handle it. And the things that you are reaching for in life align with what they also want to reach for, if that makes sense. At least that's what I took away from it.
And that is a little different than what I was thinking, because I was thinking it was more maybe broad questions, maybe the stereotypical like, What's the biggest problem facing
America today?
I think the on-stage question when
Yeah.
you get towards the end is more like that.
Yeah.
But when you do the actual interview part, they want to know more about you and your values
Yeah.
and, you know, what you're actually doing. Like
That
I
you
do
can handle the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do so much with so many different groups because my platform rests on fostering creativity as a coping mechanism. Well, that touches everyone.
huge. Yeah.
It's huge, right? So I could go be with the Diabetes Association, or I could go be with the McLean Center and work with them, or I could go work with the rescue mission, or I could go. And so I do.
Yeah.
But when they look at my resume of what I've done, they're like, so how are you actually handling all these groups? And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's not like that. It's I have this thing that I want to do, and wherever I can touch on it and help bring it out, then I do. And so you just kind of have to explain, well, what's your flight plan? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So before you ever got into pageants, photographer, are you still doing the photography?
Obviously not for the last 6 weeks.
But I mean, you can schedule into your life the time
Yes.
away from some of these things to do the other projects that you're working on. So
Right, exactly. And sometimes I integrate it. I said not for the last 6 weeks, but I did photograph Tour to Cure down in Denver. So I do try when I can to make it happen because, like I said, it's a coping mechanism and there's a lot of stress that comes with this. So if I can create along the way, then fantastic. But yeah, it's kind of nice because I can plan whatever.
what other artsy things do you do besides photography? Do you paint? Do you make sculptures? Do you sew clothes?
Everything.
Really?
do?
I love it all.
Wow.
I love it all. So I actually do graphic art too.
Oh.
And so I'm working with this wonderful company called Whiskey Leatherworks, and they're based out of Missoula, but we're working on a design for women's line. And so that's kind of cool.
Very cool.
And I do, just general art. Like I took a couple classes because I'm in school too. So
No big deal.
No big
That
deal.
doesn't
It's
take
whatever.
time.
Of course you are.
I'm going for my second degree in digital multimedia design. So one of my classes had to do with hands-on art, which was the best. Like when you're actually creating something with your hands and not the computer, sometimes that means more. So I'll do stuff that's more hands-on. I have some like mural-y type stuff and mosaics and all kinds of fun things. Whatever I can get my hands on, man.
Wow.
Just bring
It
me
seems
stuff,
like
I'll
the
make it.
hands-on does fit with the coping
Yeah.
aspect
A little
too
more.
from your platform. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will you make a mural next year?
Maybe I could help design one. Definitely.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like
I've done
this
them
idea.
I've done them in my kids' bedrooms before, and then we
cool.
paint over them, and then we'll do them together and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I've never done anything professionally outside,
Yeah.
but man, if we could figure it out, I'd totally
I
do
like
it.
this
Yeah.
I love this
collaboration here.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe you don't. But Great Falls is distinct among Montana communities because of its impressive art scene, not
Yes.
just with the murals that I talked about that are all throughout our community, but our museums and the art along the trail. And
Absolutely.
so it's almost like destiny that you're here.
Yes, it totally is. I've worked with the Paris Gibson Museum
Oh,
of
yeah.
Art. Oh, I love them. So cool. And I've worked with the Children's Museum too. But with the Paris Gibson, I got to do one of their events that was at the Newberry.
Oh, yeah.
And I photographed their event, and it was so cool. The paintings that they did, and I got to meet some of the artists, and wow. Just wow. I loved every bit of it.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I have never gotten to. I've never gone. I shouldn't say never gotten to go. Like somebody's at home telling me you can't leave this house.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've not taken the time to go to the Squares annual gala where they do all this
Arts on
amazing
Fire?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have so much more creativity, I think. Western Art Week is amazing, and there is a ton of creativity there. But sometimes it's not as out of the box as some of the Squares stuff or pieces that are submitted there. So,
And that's what I love about them, and what the executive director there is doing. It aligns almost exactly with my platform.
Oh,
and
that's
so
great.
everything that they do, I support. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, it's awesome.
That's
So
fantastic.
cool. Yeah.
I'm curious. So your background in photography and just kind of the creativity and things. This is maybe a weird question.
That's
Maybe
fine.
has no correlation at all.
Yeah.
Because you're a creative mind and you're focused on imagery and capturing things, did that help at all when you had to learn like the appearance side of pageantry, like the makeup and what's going to look well on camera and stuff? Did that translate?
I think it did.
Yeah.
Because you can't, because imagine you pick somebody out of a hat that doesn't have any real fashion. Like, okay, we're going to go through a group of girls and we're going to pick one that's wearing a Carhartt sweatshirt and pray to God that she can put it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Put an outfit together that makes sense.
Yes. And so I would say yes, because you have to know what classic beauty is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go down other roads and be respected. Does that make sense? So knowing what beauty is in my eyes, I hope that kind of transferred over a little bit. I mean, I know I made some mistakes. We all do sometimes, but for the most part, yes. Without that visual guidance of knowing what beauty is from the eye of the beholder, I wouldn't. I don't know that I would have done as well. So yes is my answer.
Of
one
course.
word answer. Yes.
And speaking of that, the makeup component, things like that. When you get to the pageant, do you have people doing that for you?
Yes.
Okay.
And well, it's crazy expensive. It is worth every single penny. And the people that do it put their heart and souls into it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my makeup artist, I didn't change for the 2 years because her and her team were so dedicated to getting the final look exactly what they felt you looked best as that I couldn't have done it without it. The positive feeling from them. You walk in and they're all like, hey, good morning. And you're like, and this is why.
Like, okay.
this is
my
why
team.
I did it.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, and you spend a lot of time. So you're in hair and makeup at least 2 hours in the morning, at least 2 hours at night. Yeah, I know. Like, and I'm sitting there like
as a touch up or to take off?
Like the first time you're completely empty. Like there's nothing there. And then they do your hair and everything. The second time they'll touch up, they might add more makeup because now you're going into nighttime. You might need to go from a light eye to like boom, right?
Yeah.
Like something big and noticeable. So that question's kind of both. I don't know how to answer. It depends on what's happening with you.
Okay.
But you're changing looks entirely. So for like the day, I might be wearing a cute flowy jumpsuit, whereas at night I might be wearing a cocktail dress.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Different makeup.
Yeah, completely
Different feel.
makeup, different feel, but you plan all that out. So in the very beginning, you're sending all your outfits and your hair ideas and
so
stuff.
much pre-planning.
Yeah, to your hair and makeup people, and then you're sitting there. Yeah, it's a long process, but your team is very important. Who you choose. Mine was Z Clemente. She's worked with wonderful places like Vogue magazine, things like that. I would not have traded her for the world at all.
Is it sad to get home and then have to do your own hair and makeup?
Yes. Yes.
Like just going to get your hair cut and having someone who's cut your hair fix your hair.
Right.
I just think every day, like, what kind of life do I have to create where this happens for me every day?
And that isn't even the level of what happens
Right.
at pageants. I mean, like, yes, thank God for our hairdressers that are, my uncle is a hairdresser, and I don't know what I would have done without him my whole life. I loved hair day. Like you go and your hair looks amazing.
They make you look
afterwards, and
pretty.
You try to maintain it for as many days as possible.
Same thing with pageants, except for they're taking it out,
Yeah.
sticking
Steroids.
something else back on. Well,
Yeah.
when you come home, you can't do what they do
No.
because they've been doing their job for 20 plus years. And you can try with a YouTube video, but maybe it isn't going to happen. Like, you're like, how does this eyelash go on?
Yeah. Oh
Like
my gosh.
it just doesn't work. So yes, there's a thing called pageant hangover where you have done all these good things and felt amazing for 8 days and at your peak. Like you've looked your best. You've spoken the best words that you've ever spoken in your interview, right? Like you've been on stage, you've been on TV, like huge things you've done, and then all of a sudden you're plopped back down to nothing.
You're back home
There's
with no
home.
team. You're like,
Yeah.
The kids need breakfast.
Yeah, come on, let's get some peanut butter sandwiches. Yeah, and which is good though. Like the first time I did it, it was very hard, and then the second time I was like, yeah, but now I'm home.
Yeah.
Like this is who I really am, and that's important. And so now when I go out to an event like I did the Caddis Festival out in Craig, right? Like yeah, I went to Ulta and had my makeup done. I was like,
nice.
but I need help. So I got help, and it was amazing. And I'll have my hairdresser at Studio Montage. They'll do my makeup for me every once in a while, or give me tips so that I learn, because you do learn. Because as soon as you start watching somebody do it, then you're like, okay, so how do?
Oh, wait a second.
And why are you doing it that way? And what is?
And what is the purpose of the dark over here and over here? And why did they take so much time putting that one little speck right there? I have no idea. So you learn as you go. Yeah, but it's a lot, and it's a lot to not have when you come home. Right, it's everything for so long. Yeah.
Are there any other weird, I don't know what weird, is there tape in places that you're not expecting tape to be to keep things in place? Is there weird, like, baby powder in some spots?
Yes.
Like,
I had no idea
all
what
the
it took.
stories are true.
They're all true. All. And I had no idea what it took to be this
put together.
Yeah, this put together. Like, I was like,
I'm going to fall apart at any moment.
Yeah, I didn't know that you had to have tape, and then there's like a glue stick that goes on your butt so that you can hold the swimsuit down so it doesn't move.
I've always wondered
so it's not just that these women don't have issues with swimsuits.
I thought it was just a special swimsuit.
I thought it was just like, that's not my
how
body.
Can they walk like that and it's not moving?
Right.
Wow.
No, it's true. And I'm sitting there. The first year I was sitting there with my chin on the floor like, this is how it's done? Let me tell you, if they're like, the one thing that I have thought the entire time is if every little girl knew how much work that it took to look like that. So amazing in that way. You know what I mean? Like, everybody looks great. They're beautiful in their own way. And that's not what I mean. But when you get up to this level of this media appearance, it takes so much work and time and glue, like, and tape and things that no little girl sees. You'd every
and then
little
they're
bit
trying to create it every day.
Yes, without having all
like
the
me,
tools.
I'm like, why does my swimsuit not do that?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for all those little girls to know that everything that you are is absolutely perfect, because going into this scenario and putting all that stuff on is not always the funnest, and it's not always easy. And I went out. So here's a story that kind of relates to this. Sorry, I'm going to go off track for a minute. But
this is what we do on this podcast.
So I went out to Royal Family Kids Camp, which is a camp for foster kids, and it is amazing. Like, I've heard of it, and I know the lady that runs it, and it's a great thing, but I'd never been there. I didn't know much about it. So she invited me to come out and do Royal Day, where we kind of dressed up the kids, and, they got ready for their royal dinner. And then they came up and did like their normal nightly meeting or whatever. Well, I went as Carhartt and jeans, right? And I helped them as a volunteer doing their hair and makeup and everything. And one little girl took me to go get a tiara, and I'm kind of in my head, I'm kind of giggling because I'm like, that's so sweet. Yeah. Like, she doesn't realize, but it's like, that's the best gift I could get. It's still sitting like on my dresser. It is gorgeous, right? And I'll think about it all the time. But we ate this she asked me to sit with her at dinner, and we ate, and then I said to her, I gotta go, but I'm going to be at your nightly meeting. I just have a couple things I have to take care of, right? And so I go, and I get all princessed up, and I'm in a bubblegum pink ball gown and wearing my crown and my sash, and all these kids who have come from a multitude of pasts, right? They're in foster care, so you can imagine. And they do their nightly meeting, and I'm hearing them, come to the end. So I'm waiting, and then they introduce me, and I walk in, and everybody just, oh my gosh, it's a princess.
Oh my gosh.
We had no idea, right? And so we talked. I stood up there. I told my story. They asked me questions like, do you have a cat? And I'm like, nope, don't have a cat.
Dang it, that should have been our opening line.
Do you know Elsa? And I'm like, don't know her, but I have dressed up as her. Like, things like this. And then we talked about the more heavy stuff, like, why are you doing this? Like, what have you learned? Things like that. And then when it was over, I gave all the kids sketchbooks and jewelry and like fun little things that they could take home and create and feel pretty at the same time, right? Well, I had my extensions in, and the one little girl, I forget what happened, but she said something about my hair, and I go, well, this isn't even my hair. And she looked at me and she's like, what? And I'm like, no, it's not my hair. And she goes, it's a wig. And I go, no, they're called extensions. They make my hair longer because it's part of how we're supposed to look. Right. And I took that off. I asked her first, I go, are you okay with me taking it off? I'll show you.
She fainted.
And she basically,
Right.
like I took it off and she looked at me. And it was like I changed her entire outlook on what a beautiful woman should be. And that one moment I'll hold in my forever, because it wasn't a look of disgust. It was a look of, really?
Yeah.
Like that's really what all these people are doing? It's just a ring of hair?
Yeah.
Like, okay. So that kind of thing, though, is like super important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important because it gives that perspective of I'm playing dress up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I can do this and change my outward appearance, but I can also take it off and I'm still the same person.
It's still me, the
Right.
same one who ate dinner next
Right.
to you
And the
is the
person-
same one.
And the person who you thought was nothing in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And so you've
Yeah.
got this full circle thing that happened while you're
Yeah.
there. And it's super powerful because when you walk in and those kids didn't think I was any different than any other volunteer that they'd worked with before.
Yeah.
And some of those kids had met me before. So it's just that, like, yes, no matter where you're at or how you're dressing up, you're the same person and you are incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well,
cool.
and I think it also teaches people to, in kids and adults as well, but to hopefully look and treat people with respect for who they are and not based on a status or
Yes.
appearance either. Because if you would have walked in like that initially, that would have set a totally different tone for how they related to you
right.
to start
Right.
with.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of like, don't judge the crazy lady walking down Central Avenue because she's wearing high heels with platforms, right?
In her sweatpants and sweatshirt.
Right, you know,
She's
yeah.
practicing.
She's working on her
Messy
calf
bun.
muscles. It's fine. Yeah.
It's fine. She'll be fine.
That's a normal day.
Oh my goodness.
So kind of in Great Falls, we get a little more spoiled because you're here. So we get to
right.
see
Yeah.
Mrs. Montana appear more often in
Yes.
some of our day-to-day lives. How should people approach you and how should they not approach you
Ooh.
when you're out in public?
Can they touch your hair and crown without asking?
Probably not.
And that's just really good advice in general.
Yep.
So
Don't touch my face and hair.
general advice when you approach any person would apply with
Yes,
me.
perfect.
Don't
Okay.
inappropriately touch me
Uh-huh.
when you
Yes.
first make contact.
The sash does not mean everything's,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. It doesn't mean anything in that way.
Yeah.
Same with a
So-
dress. If you want to
Yes.
touch the dress, say, may I touch the material of your dress? Don't just
Yes.
start grabbing at it.
Yes,
These
please
are all
don't.
good things. Yeah.
Those are all great guidelines to actually live by.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, say hi.
No.
I'm a really down to earth person, and I really do enjoy everyone for whatever they have to bring to the table. And so, yeah, little girls, come up and run up and give me a hug, please.
Yeah.
Please, please, please. Like, you see something that you are idolizing on TV because I'm a princess, and you're excited to see me, and you want to know more about it. Please.
Yeah.
Just come up, like, just come talk to me. I
Yeah.
love it. And you know, like I said, just don't inappropriately touch. It's no good.
Same standard rules of society.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's fun to have famous people in our town.
it is.
And
It's-
I'm saying
yeah.
famous, like normal famous people.
Yeah.
Like people who are from here, who have done amazing things, who get to be a part of our community, not people who are famous and end up in our town,
Right.
but people who are from here.
here. Yeah.
It's cool.
Huh, it's kind of neat. I mean, I don't still get the whole like famous-y side, because to me, I'm Catherine, and I
Yeah.
live right down there. And,
Right.
you know, like, this is my home. This is the place that I love. And so to me, it's no different. But to other people, it's like, oh, so how do we approach you now?
Now that you've
same as
got this
before.
title.
Yes.
Right. Or have for, I
Yes,
think
please
I'm-
bow. Thank
yes,
you.
Yes, just bow all the time. That's good.
Yeah.
Looks awesome.
I want to institute that too.
Yeah, you know,
I'm just
maybe
going to start wearing a crown to work
People
and
must
tell everyone.
bow when they
Yeah,
come
please,
in
when
to
you
visit
come
Great
in,
Falls.
just bow.
bow.
And then I
And
will
then we will
address you.
Yeah.
Yes.
No
Do
bow,
not speak
no
until
help.
spoken
Yeah.
to.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, Wow, I wonder how that would change our interactions here.
I think it would be glorious.
Could be amazing if you do it right. If you're a fair queen, then it'll be good.
Yes.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thinking back on, family is from the Utica area. Were you were raised in Great Falls though?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Which high school? Which one did you go to?
Oh, see, this is
Are
the
you
question
laying
for
down the-
everybody. I will totally lay it down
Yeah.
because my daughter is the 5th generation to go to Great Falls High.
Okay.
Ooh.
Like, and there
Bison
will
all the way.
Oh, all the
'Kay.
way. I remember my mom when I was going to school there, I was so frustrated that I had to go to school there, and I don't know why. Like, it was just because I was a teenager, and my mom was saying, "Oh, you're going to go to Great Falls High, right?" And she would always tell me, "Your kids will be going to Great Falls High," and I'm like, "Oh, no, they won't."
Okay, yeah.
Whatever, lady. Right?
Oh,
You're
funny.
so
But-
crazy.
Yeah.
Right. But as you grow up, you tend to find these values in our town that are so important. Like when my daughter comes home, I already know everything that happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
like-
dang it. I thought you could get away from it like
Yeah,
in a
right.
bigger town.
Yeah. No, not really.
Yeah.
So that's our school. And I have to say, I love the addition that the Davidson family helped put on. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's gorgeous.
It really is.
Beautiful. I am very jealous that we didn't have that walkway from one building to the other when I was in school because it was cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, the history there is crazy. My grandfather and my great grandmother, so my dad's was my grandpa, and then my mom's was my great grandma. They went to school there and graduated from the same year in 1942.
Gosh. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
It was crazy. My grandpa was
these are
on the
deep
hockey
roots.
team. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
My grandpa was on the hockey team. He was a West Sider. So he would play hockey on the river in Great Falls. And I think to myself, how did you do that? There
Yeah,
was
no
nothing to
kidding.
make the ice like clean. You are a hard guy.
Yeah. No kidding.
crazy.
That's
gosh.
taking life in your
It
own hands every
is.
day.
And he
Oh
goes,
my
no, we
gosh.
just knew the river. We knew where it was low and where it was high, and we knew where we could skate.
Wow.
And we did it. I'm
my
like, they're a
gosh.
brave guy.
Yeah,
right
no
there.
kidding.
Yeah.
How do you feel growing up in Great Falls has kind of helped shape who you are today?
That's a good question. That's a
Oh,
deep one. But you know
Did
what?
you know she used to be a professional news reporter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good
Now
at
she
it.
does. All the good questions come from that side of the table.
You've had some good ones too.
You have had good ones.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So the question is
Just how growing up in Great Falls has kind of helped shape who you are, especially now. I think in light of this more national kind of platform that you have.
I'm gonna sound so corny for a minute, but
Do it.
But it is who I am.
Yeah.
Like I don't. As much as I value the experience of these beauty pageants, I don't necessarily value the outside beauty of it. I value the journey, the process, the things that are in that. And those are things that I learned growing up. Had I grown up somewhere else, I may have already been decked out in beauty gear and I would have never, experienced the true value of what life is really about. So pulling that from my small town and making that a part of who I am is, it's huge. It's huge. I would not be who I am without this town.
Yeah.
At all.
So your family really has to be on board for a lot of this. I mean, you're gone,
Yeah.
and I'd assume you have to stay married in order to stay Mrs. Montana.
You do.
Oh, that's a
You
good question.
do.
What happens? Yeah.
So
Do you get kicked out? The crown taken away if you get divorced?
you can be decrowned.
Wow.
And there's probably a variety of reasons why. I just know that one of them is you have to be married at least through the pageant, if not through the whole end of your reign as the title, like the state title holder. But it makes sense. That's what your title is. That's part of what made you who you are. So if something like, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rules. Like if somebody was getting beat or something, maybe there's something different that would happen. But in general, you need to hold it together and be able to be married.
But was there like a family discussion? Like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and there's gonna be a lot of slack that has to be picked up at home.
Well, of course, there was. It may not have been that direct. But you got to So in the beginning of this, I didn't really want to do it because I was afraid. Maybe I was afraid of my potential. Maybe I was afraid of what I couldn't do. I didn't know. I was just afraid. But my husband's on the other side, like, why aren't you doing this? And he part of why he was on the other side doing this is because when we were in the Dominican Republic and discussing beauty pageants and what they entail and stuff, they said to my husband, because they saw me going,
You were already checking out.
Like, okay, we got to get him on board.
Yeah. So they're like, but you get to be Mr. Montana and you don't have to do anything.
You get the title with none of the work.
Right. Yeah.
Please tell me he's a guy that like makes his own T-shirts. He just
Oh,
walks
I
around. He's
hope
like, I'm
so.
Mr. Montana.
Yes.
Dude, so what I had to do. So my husband is like 6'2", 6'3". He's like 320 pounds, big dude, football type guy,
Yeah.
right? So I bought him at the farmer's market,
yeah.
that we have every Saturday. There's this cool little shop that does wands and
Yes.
Whimsical.
Yes, whimsical things.
Yeah.
Right? Well, he didn't get a crown and he was very upset about not getting a crown. So I went down there and I got him a personally made staff.
Oh my gosh.
With
that's amazing.
like a fake fake glass. It's glass and it's supposed to represent the Yogo sapphire.
Yeah.
And it lights up. And there's like, it looks like a tree branch with like antlers coming out and
Oh my
wrapping around
gosh.
the blue piece of glass. So he has this staff
Perfect.
that he is Mr. Montana.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, he
That's
doesn't have the
amazing.
T-shirt, but he does have the staff.
I mean, that's even better. That's
Yeah.
a whole other level.
It's a whole nother level. Yes, it gives him authority. That's amazing.
Was that your Christmas card one year as a family?
You with the sash and him
Should've
with
been.
the staff.
This year?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about
Please
that.
send us one if you do that.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll put it up on the. We'll make a bulletin board and put it up on there.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
that
Oh
would
my
be
gosh.
fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So your platform too, you talked about coping, creative coping.
Yeah.
And then you've also mentioned a lot about the diabetes awareness and
Yeah.
things like that. And that's part of your platform. You're just down in Denver. Seems to be something
Yeah.
that you're passionate about.
I'm passionate about it because I've been diabetic for 35 years.
Mhm.
So when an opportunity comes to help with a disease that impacts so many people,
Mhm.
especially myself, and then my brother also has diabetes, it's just important to me. It doesn't necessarily align with what my platform is. It's just really, really important, like crazy. So the creative stuff is really where I live. And like I said, it could help people with diabetes. Like, okay, now you have a kid that's really struggling. What can we do to help him feel a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's give him a sketchbook, see what he creates, see what he gets out, see what pain that he just encountered comes out on that paper and helps him deal with said situation, right? So, yeah, I don't know. But the Diabetes Association thing was really fun. So, yeah.
So, what's the future hold? Are we going to see Mrs. Montana or Catherine Mertz camps for kids with creativity?
So cool.
Ooh.
So I do have a studio downtown, and I've been working on ideas of what I can do. Like, is this something where I might hold creative birthday parties? Is this something where I might, have something happen along with the farmer's market during the summer? But there's so many ideas, and because I'm a creative soul, like my brain
just goes
explodes.
crazy with
Yeah.
it.
It just
So when you're
explodes
not
everywhere.
sleeping, you're thinking of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So keep your eyes open. There might be
Yeah.
something really cool that comes from this whole thing that impacts our community on more of a daily basis. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Well, I could also offer the suggestion maybe you could write a book about being a pageant girl when you're not a pageant girl.
Oh, that's
Because I think
super
that
good
would
idea.
be.
Carhartts and crowns.
Yeah.
Yes.
name
Oh
of it.
my gosh.
You're not getting any royalties if they choose
But I
that
said
title.
it here.
I'll take you to dinner. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. A good one, not like McDonald's or
Okay.
anything like.
Thank you.
Like a real one.
Yeah, a real one, like Don
Roadhouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Or is the Ribbon Chop House coming here?
It is.
I've heard that.
Yes.
Maybe there.
Okay.
Okay, I've never been. I'm
Me
vegan,
either.
but I'll go
Yeah.
with you.
I'm sure you have vegan options.
We can
Yeah.
go somewhere where it's
I mean,
works for everyone.
Ribbon
Okay.
Chop House, vegan options. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah.
Every place has them.
If they have potatoes, I'm good. Like,
Perfect.
That'll be fine.
Perfect. Were you gonna?
No.
Are you okay?
Go for it.
It looks like you were prepared. So said you went vegan, things like that. Your health journey, when I was reflecting, getting ready for this, looking at your Instagram account and things like that, what started as just a fitness journey for you turned into this whole
Exploded.
pageant process. What made you, aside from just wanting to go to the beach, it sounded like what you lost like 60 pounds. Is
A
that
ton,
right?
a
Yeah.
ton.
That's a lot of hard work,
Yeah.
especially for
Yeah.
just a beach vacation. I might give
Yeah.
up. I'm like, oh, well, they'll just get what they want. What kept you motivated? Why did you want to go through that process to start with, aside from wanting to look good at the beach?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It
Oh.
really just was kind of the hand of God. Like,
Yeah.
so my personality is either I'm on all the way or I'm off all the
Yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm doing it or I'm not. So working out just became, it felt good. Like when you work out, you feel so much
You
better.
do.
Your emotions are more evened out. You're like,
Yeah, totally.
I was eating better. Like there was in no way I was feeling worse. Right.
Yeah.
And so I just kept going because if I'm feeling good and it felt right, so why not? And then the vegan thing came in just because I watched a Netflix special about some football team that went all vegan and they had stamina, and I looked at my husband and I'm like, I need stamina.
Wait a second. Yeah.
I need that.
If they can do it, I can do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Like little old me comparing myself to an entire football team that's literally packing in all this vegan food. They're not like eating just a little bit. I mean, they're eating tons, right? And I'm not seeing that at that time. All I'm seeing is these guys that are able to perform all these athletic things, and I loved it. And my husband goes, "Oh my gosh, what do you need stamina for?" He's like, "You go on the treadmill."
Like, but for life.
Yes, for life. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not just doing the treadmill, honey. And so I started selling him. I'm like, I lift and I go on the stair stepper. That's my cardio. So that's why the vegan. But then when I started doing it, I started feeling amazing. Yeah. My blood sugars balanced out. I actually, between working out and going vegan, I dropped multiple units per day that I needed on my insulin.
That's fantastic.
So
wow.
It was huge for me in a multitude of ways. So while I'm not going to the gym all the time now because I'm traveling and I'm doing other things.
You're doing a bajillion other things.
You're walking down the street in heels.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a workout.
That's part of it, right? So I go there when I can. And if I'm traveling and they have a Planet Fitness and I'm feeling like I have enough sleep in me, then I'll go and I'll work out just because I need that.
Yeah.
So,
that connection.
Yeah.
Is there, this is maybe this is, you can say no,
okay.
no news on this one. I think that there's at least this perception because we are talking about physical beauty and things with pageants being part of that. It seems like there would be a lot of pressure maybe that you put on yourself, outside pressure, things like that, to maintain a certain physical physique. How do you handle that? Did you feel that at all?
No, the only time I felt it was when maybe I ate like a little bit. So you know how you have those dresses that fit just right? And then all of a sudden that time of the month will come or something and you're like,
a little bit of water retention.
Like, I don't remember
done.
this pooch there.
I can't zip it up anymore. Like, and which doesn't make much sense, but every woman has that. Has that no matter what, right?
Yeah.
That may be the only time that I ever felt anything like I should have been something different than I was.
That's great.
Because I was already on that journey of getting myself to my best fitness wise. And I didn't feel that. This is going to sound really awful, so I'm sorry if it does, but like I didn't feel, nor did I grow up with the needing to have a certain way to look.
That's great.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I didn't have this thing that was like, oh, all these women have blonde hair and blue eyes. Why don't I have blue eyes? I don't fit in. No, my things where I wasn't fitting in was more like, I don't know if I'm answering these interview questions right.
Sure.
Or I don't know if I'm doing this because or did I pick the right kind of hair extensions? I don't know if I picked the right kind of hair extensions. Or what about these eyelashes? Or, I really don't know how to do makeup. Did I do it okay? Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. Yes. But ever about my own physical self? No.
That's fantastic.
Not at all. But I could see how other people might. Yeah.
I know. I think that would be, if I were to go on that journey, that would definitely be a struggle for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people. So that's really that's fantastic that that's not something that was. If I didn't line up exactly the way that I did with how I was working out, maybe it would have. And I could see part of why I'm not quite sure about pageants for children yet. Like I see their value and I really okay, I can see kids doing it. But then on the other side, I'm like, but I'm not quite sure about the
value system for children when they're learning? Are they picking up the right things, or are they thinking that they have to look a certain way to get that? But like I said, I never participated in a child pageant, so I don't know how you have.
Rebecca?
Maybe
Same
you
question.
High school. It was high school, and it was,
which is maybe the worst time for that.
right? Yeah.
I don't know. It was a community-based one, so it was really just getting together with your friends. And
Yeah, it was different.
it's like everybody was having to go through this painful thing. It was the same reason I got selected to go to Girls State, like, because I'm the only girl. Like,
Yeah, it makes sense.
you're going to be our delegate for this,
person
and
for
so,
that,
you know, the Junior Miss program I thought was really great, but it was also, you know, physical fitness and talent and
all these things.
all those elements, and then you got to dress up in a dressy dress, and they gave out all the awards. But you know, when you were there with your friends, it wasn't really a competition.
It wasn't a pressure that you had to be a certain way. Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone there wanted to win.
They just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like eventually someone was going to win, and we all knew that, but it wasn't like, oh, I hope it's me.
Right. And and that's a good point too, right? All these women, like, I think the only other thing that I may have felt, just because of how it came about to me, was that all of these women had way more experience than I did. Wasn't true. Some of them had the exact same amount of experience as me, but other women did. They had been in pageants since they were children, and they knew everything. So you kind of feel a little intimidated in that way. But what's really nice about the pageant system that I was in is it doesn't matter what size you are. What the competition is really, really about is, how do you handle how you are? Are you good with you, or are you not good with you? And that's part of the growth process that, you know, is part of all of this, which is kind of amazing. So, you know.
Shannon got to deal with some, I'm going to call them trolls, on our social media.
Fair.
We get interesting comments. You would think, you know, the tourism social media is just happy roses, rainbows, and unicorns all the time, and then we get
humans exist. And
random comments, and we're like, well, where did that come from? So she was dealing with some of that. You have to, as a public figure, deal with some of the same stuff. Do you just ignore it? Do you address it, or do you be like, geez, people, you got nothing, get out and go for a hike?
Right. I think it's totally situational. I think because our titles are so short-lived that we don't really experience a lot of the trolling part, where people start, because really people don't have a lot of time to know who you are, to get
used to that,
and to get used to you being in this position, or even learn about the position, right? So no, I don't experience that. But if I did, it would be completely situational. I don't think I would ever, like, you know, there's some celebrities out there that are like, whoa, and then they stop the person and they're like, this is blah, 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 whatever. I think everything has to be handled with tact and grace. And so if somebody were to, I don't know, if somebody were to, like, a little girl accidentally pulled on my dress or stepped on my dress or something, of course, I'm just gonna be like, oh, it's okay. Yeah. You know, whatever. Or if somebody said something nasty to me on Instagram, I might just block them, because I don't need the negativity in my life. I can create enough of that on my own, and putting that barrier up sometimes is appropriate. Yeah. Or maybe it's just a message like, hey, did you mean this, or did I read it wrong? Right. Like, you know, so it's situational. Totally.
Right. Like, check yourself, sir.
Yeah, please.
These are the boundaries for engaging with me.
Yes.
Normal
absolutely.
human interaction.
Please. Yes.
So I did, couple questions as we maybe wrap things up here. How much longer is your current reign?
So I'll still be Mrs. Montana until the next pageant, which should be somewhere around, I would say, in between May and July of next year.
Okay.
I don't think
get
it's
your
quite
tickets.
Yes.
Yes. And so because I don't think I'll have to do anything other than crown the other Mrs. American or Mrs. Montana American. Usually the America, I think, kind of gives a speech about how her reign was and what she did. And
did you do that at the end of your last?
No, I didn't, because COVID and everything's kind of still
different time.
Getting itself worked out, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's it. Done in anywhere from May to July.
But you still have quite a bit
left
in your
much
current
time.
reign. Yes,
absolutely. All kinds of things to do.
Well, it's not like you're going to stop being
suddenly
involved
stop
in
being
certain
involved.
things.
Right,
You just
right.
won't have the crown on. when
Right.
you're
Well,
doing it.
she'll
Right.
still have the crown. She gets to keep it.
Yeah.
Right. I get to keep it. I get to keep
So
my
I-
sash. It's just retired.
Yeah.
So I can't technically wear it unless there's some kind of an event that I go to that's like for the actual formers.
Okay.
And then we could wear it.
But
I
the
guess-
crown you can wear all the time.
I mean, at home when I'm vacuuming. Cleaning
Makes
those
it feel
counters.
fancier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I remember who I am. You make your own peanut butter sandwich.
That's right. Learn how to do it. No, but yeah. So we, I don't know. I'll still have the crown. I'll still have the sash.
Yeah.
Just won't be actively using it. But I get to do fun things still. So in October, I'm going back down to Las Vegas.
Okay.
I'm doing a Music for Good event which is also kind of aligns with kind of symphony stuff, I guess, because it's music.
Form of art.
It's a form of art, but I'm going because I'm part of Beauty for Good, which is a group of beauty queens that works with Victoria's Voice. So David and Jackie Siegel, they had a daughter that died from a drug overdose. And so they created this foundation to help prevent kids from going down that same road. And so I volunteer with them and I get to do fun things. Like I went to a NASCAR race and helped volunteer with that. And I went to, they had some kind of a jewelry auction. I got to help present the jewelry and things like this. So I get to go down and do this Music for Life event. And I'm super excited about it because I don't know what I'm going to do. But I get to help this organization help kids. And that's the biggest thing, right? So I'm excited.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, because you're from Great Falls, you represent Great Falls, all of these things.
Yeah.
For our visitors who are listening, planning a trip to Great Falls, what are some of your recommendations of things people should do? Or so what are some of your favorite things about Great Falls?
Well,
To do.
you should, it depends on the time of year, right?
Yeah,
but like,
totally.
okay, so River's Edge Trail, I love doing that with my kids and it always improves.
Not in heels.
Right. And not in heels.
mean,
I mean, you
or
could
in
do it in
heels,
heels.
yeah.
We've
Let's-
proven it can be done.
Hey, call me. We'll go work out. I think downtown is just improving every day as well. Going down there, experiencing the shops and the food, like crazy food. It's getting so much better than what we had.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. And then, of course, because I'm an oldie from Great Falls, you should probably try out Howard's Pizza and Taco Tree.
The classics.
The
Great
classic
Falls
places.
classics.
I still wish Burgermaster was there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, all of those things. But yeah, I think those two things would be really important to go see. Paris Gibson Museum of Art, because you can do that any time of year. You should also go see the Charlie Russell, all of the art things. And if you have kids, go to the Children's Museum because you know you need some time to connect with your kids on a space that isn't at your home where you're like doing 47 other things.
Yep.
Go there and experience with your kids while you're on vacation. They can get out and relax a little bit and so can you, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go on and on. If you're here during the fair, go to the fair.
Right.
If you're here, you know, when it's snowing outside, go down to Gibson if it's frozen all the way and ice skate. Like, I mean,
We did
there's
horse
tons.
racing for the first time this year.
Did you?
Have you done horse racing before?
I did, but it was a long time ago before the new stands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, not to brag, but I did pretty dang good.
Did you?
I picked
By
a
that-
lot of winners.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
In her
That's
betting.
awesome.
She did well in her betting. Trifecta? Is that one of the things?
No,
Yeah.
I think you did the
I did get a trifecta once.
I just picked winners. That's what I did.
yeah.
That's all I do is pick winners.
Just pick winners.
well,
awesome.
you know, you picked me for your staff, so I'm just kidding.
It's perfect.
Just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think like other things. Speaking of the arena there or the horse racing venue, I did go see the rodeo there during the fair. That is
Yeah.
also almost a must, like any rodeo in Montana. But seeing the one at the state fair is fun.
And we'll have the one
The
coming up in
national
January.
one in January.
Circuit
Yeah.
There are
finals.
definitely different experiences to do a rodeo indoor versus outdoor.
It is.
Totally is.
Yeah.
You got to do them both.
Right.
They're just and it's still just rodeo. That's what's so crazy is
Yeah.
why is it
Yes.
so
Feels
different
so
to
different.
be
But it also
outside.
matters the people you are with.
Yeah.
So if you know
Yes.
somebody local from Montana to go to a rodeo with, you will have a completely different experience than if you're going by yourself. And honestly, if you come and you don't know anybody, you're going to know somebody by the end of it.
You're going to
anyway.
make friends.
So it won't matter. It won't matter. You just go and have fun.
Yeah,
Because they're
happens.
amazing.
Yeah, I do love rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
We often get the question of guests who are like, I want to do a powwow and a rodeo. Like they happen every day
Yeah, they don't.
No.
Not
at
really.
the same time,
Right.
everywhere you go. And I'm like, we can help you with that.
But
And
you're
so
gonna
then
have
you
to
like
plan.
pull up the schedule for both, and I'm trying to cross-reference. I'm like, it looks like we can do State Fair Rodeo and the Rocky Boy Powwow at the same time. They're like,
Right.
perfect.
Yes.
What's the seating like in Rocky Boy? I'm like, I don't know.
You
It's
go.
not like in this
You might
like,
be sitting in the back of your
stadium.
truck.
Yeah, right.
And which
Bring
is
a
the
chair.
exact experience you want. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So it's always fun to get those kind of questions about those seemingly Montana experiences that, people have different perceptions about it.
They do.
Want to do this.
So much so. And the other thing I was thinking about too is the Great Western Art Show.
Oh,
Yes,
Out
Western
west.
Art Week.
The Western
Yes.
Art Week in general.
Yes.
Just everything that is associated with that.
Coming up in March.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. It's
It's
one of
such a
my
great week.
favorite
Yeah.
times of year.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the one time a year I need to mortgage the house again.
It's always so tempting. Yes.
So much good art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We actually got a update. We had bought one of the quick finish pieces this last year at the Out West show.
Oh, nice.
And the artist we won gave us an updated card as to the name of the painting and the value of the painting and kind of the certificate of authenticity. It was really
Ooh.
pretty. It had a little wax stamp on it.
I love her face as she's talking
Yeah,
about
she
this.
gets
If
so
you weren't
excited,
here,
right?
like, yes,
Yes.
it's amazing. And this big smile. Like, I
Yeah.
love it.
Like, ooh, I like the certificate of authenticity almost more than the painting. but-
That's amazing. I saw it when I was
Don't tell the artist that. Yeah.
when I was at the gala for the Paris Gibson, they had those quick draw artists at the end too, and having the conversations with them about how their pieces
Oh
come
my
about and
gosh,
stuff is
yeah.
like, it's almost mind blowing. Like they really put their time and effort into it. And sometimes they're like, I didn't really do much. I just did this.
Just
And
threw
you're
this
like, wow,
together.
okay, well, these stories behind the artwork
Yeah.
are almost, or they're like equal to the artwork. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And they're important to know. And then you get the authenticity and you're like, yeah, baby.
You get to know the artist. You get to know
Mhm.
their story. You get to know the piece's story. There's just so much emotion connected to
Oh, yeah.
art.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a new artist at the Russell Reignited and the Western Art Rendezvous. Brand new artist I'd never seen before. She's not brand new. She was brand new to me.
Yeah.
I was so enamored with her work. I just stood there and watched and looked, and I'm like, oh, I want one of these pieces.
Yeah.
It was just stunning. And so I started following her on Instagram, and
Did you become a super stalker?
not yet, but
Not
I'm
yet.
sure it's
Following
coming.
us to every show. Yeah.
And then I asked her, I'm like, are you coming back are you coming in March? And she's like, yeah, I'm hoping to get in March. I'm like, yay.
I will be
I'm
the first to your
certainly
booth.
not going
Yeah.
to be able to buy anything next, in March either, but I'm going to come stock you, and
Yeah.
I'm saving up, and it's going to be one of mine.
But sometimes those followers, when you're an artist, are the most important because you don't always know your worth. And so when you can look and see, yeah, but these people really like what I do, and that adds value to your life. So you're doing a fantastic thing.
And
whether
you're
you
being
know
a
it or
hype
not.
person,
Yeah,
right? You need
I am.
that. Yeah.
That's
building
my
up.
role.
The groupie.
Yeah, and
And
that art community in Great Falls is, not only do the fans boost each other up, but the artists boost each other up, which is
Such a unique
amazing.
quality.
yeah, it's amazing.
Just
I
to
love it.
support it. We had Maggie and Drew Kent on, who've developed the disc golf courses within our community.
Yes. Okay.
And I said, so is there like a lot of trash talking? And they're like, no, it's just a really supportive community. I'm like, that's
That's
awesome.
the sport I want to be part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
good at trash talking, but it's also
Nice to be
the
encouraged.
best to do when you're good at that sport instead of when you go to a sport you're not necessarily good at.
And or you're with friends that understand you're not really the best at that, but they'll
They're
let you
like-
brag like you are. Yeah.
So dang good at this. Watch this. Missed the
Just
basket
don't ask
completely.
to prove yourself. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's those kind of camaraderies that happen here, which is why when people do come to visit, they're like, Great Falls just is they're nice people that live here. And
It's true.
I'm always taken back by that. I'm like, of course we're nice. Like, where are you at where the people
Where the
aren't
people
nice?
are just rude all the
but
time.
there's a difference. There's a huge difference. There's nice, and I always say this. There's like a niceness about. I consider us the west side of the country, right? So there's the West is nice, and the people are kind, and they'll do anything for you. And the East is also very nice, but they're nice in a different way. They're more abrupt. And so there's just
very direct with their niceness.
Yes. And so, but Great Falls it's just a different nice. And it is so nice to come home to when you've been away for a long time, like these 6 weeks. That's why I said, like, me pulling up to home was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I belong. This are my people. This is where I need to be. And I just love it. So.
Well, on that note, I can't think of a better way to close this episode.
It's perfect.
Almost like
she knows what she's doing.
She's trained in this. That's perfect. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
We're curtsying and bowing to you.
Thank you. I'm also curtsying and bowing to you because this is an amazing thing you guys are doing. So.
We certainly have a blast making these episodes, sharing a little bit about Great Falls with all y'all, which I know is a Southern term. Sorry.
Not what we say in Great Falls, but
at all.
Fine. It works. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Works for this episode. So until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy face here in Great Falls, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you are. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.